Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Between Two Cacti, presented by Scottsdale Living. Scottsdale Living was founded 5 years ago by John Doring, the Godfather, and your friendly neighborhood realtor here in Scottsdale, Arizona. My name is Dr. Amber Enright, and I'll be your host for today's episode. I joined the Scottsdale Living team, and I'm the co-founder of Scottsdale Living Business Edition, Scottsdale Living Women's Edition. Allow me to tell you a little bit more about Scottsdale Living before I introduce our guests today. Scottsdale Living is a thriving, social, interactive community group here in sunny Scottsdale, Arizona. We exist to turn neighbors into friends, to help entrepreneurs connect with our local customers, and to give people a way to learn about their community in an engaging way. You can check us out on Facebook at Scottsdale Living, Tempe Living, and Phoenix Living, or go over to www.thescottsdaleliving.com. And now, without further ado, today's guests are Joanne and Adam Hoffmann from TeamHoff Health. Thanks, guys.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. We're so excited, and we're new to Scottsdale, Arizona, and we feel so welcomed by this group. So thank you.
Love it.
It's been awesome.
So you guys just joined our business edition. It's been exciting to have you. I love the energy that you bring even in your introduction. So like in any business group, you kind of go in and you do like a 30-second introduction in almost any networking group. And I love just hearing about your story a little bit. And so I had to have you on today. It was a must. I'm really excited. So tell me, when did you move to Scottsdale?
And we moved here in December. And we, before that, were traveling the country in our RV for about a year and a half. We traveled to 36 different states. And
you have a bed in your RV, and like, did you have the full kitchenette?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we were glamping, as we like to call it. Yeah.
I've never done it in a camper van, but I wanted to. I'm impressed. I want to see photos of this like on your Instagram today because I need to see it.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's well documented. Yes, indeed. And we started our business about 5 years ago. And about a year and a half, 2 years ago, we realized, we don't have to stay in this one location. Where do we want to go? And we didn't know. We knew we didn't want to stay where we were or go back to Texas where we had come from. So we're like, well, we have clients and coaches all over the country that we are coaching and mentoring. So let's go see them. Let's go see the country, and maybe we'll figure out where we want to settle down.
We jokingly said that we dated each 36 states. And of course, Arizona courted us, took us on a couple of dates. And we said yes to the proposal. So we're here.
That's cute. I love your energy.
Yes.
She got diva energy over here. Get it.
A little sassy.
You can see it.
We balance each other.
With her, yeah.
That's super fun. So you love Arizona. You came from Texas. And where did you come from, Adam?
I grew up in Iowa.
Iowa. Okay. What do you love the most about Arizona? Like being here, like what's the best? Texas, Iowa? Like Texas isn't that far off, I feel like.
No, we're like really close cousins. Yeah, we know how to party. So I will say Scottsdale has really brought it with the culture, the food. We marched in the Parada de Sol with some fellow band directors. And I just really love how everyone's really welcoming here.
I've heard it described that like whatever you're into, there's a group here for you. And being social people, we love that. And we've been able to find that too. For me, just noticing how friendly the people are, how welcoming the people are, has been not what I expected. Moving to a new location, you never know kind of, am I going to fit in? Are we going to find our tribe? Things like that. And we just made so many great friends already just in the first couple of months we've been here. So
I love that. That's something that I love about Arizona. And every time I move away, I always move back for that reason. I do think that people here are friendly. Like you'll get a wave and a hi and how are you from people like at the grocery. And people from other places think that that's strange. And I'm like, I think it's rude when people don't.
Right.
Like, just give someone the smile, especially post-COVID. Like, everybody needs those smiles. It's a connection thing.
Definitely.
And so I do love that about Arizona as well. Have you guys checked anything out other than that? And so you said Arizona has something for everyone. I agree with that. I like country dancing. I like playing soccer. I love business networking. We have tons and tons of businesses in Scottsdale that are amazing and come from all over the country and interact with people. So tell me a little bit about your platform, your actual business. What do you do?
Sure. We are health and wellness coaches. And so we help people learn and live healthy lifestyle habits. And that's basically what we do. That looks different for everybody. Everybody's journey is a little bit different, but based on the last 5 years of our life and going through the journey ourselves, we have a wealth of experience, if you will, to help guide other people on this journey with us.
And I wanted to say, where a lot of health and wellness actually goes back to mental health and traumas people have been through. And so where we step in is, we were broke, we were paycheck to paycheck, we were overworked as orchestral directors and band directors. And there were no healthy boundaries with not just food relationships, but also like even in our own marriage, it was to the point where we allowed work to take over our lives. And so where our program helps people is where we say, hey, let's take a look just at one piece at a time. And like Adam said, we had that experience and now I've impacted 5,000 people.
That's amazing.
What's
that?
What's been pretty crazy though is that, when I started this 5 years ago, I'd never expected to build a business out of it. I never expected it to be a full-time thing. I was at a place in my own personal health where I felt stuck. I felt miserable.
There's like no other option. You did this for you.
I had no options at all. And I had tried all kinds of things to help improve my health. I have been, working out like crazy, and I've done crazy diet things, and I've done all kinds of stuff. And I would literally cry myself to sleep some nights. Like, I am just so sick of feeling this way. I am so sick of being fat. I am so sick of being overweight and tired and exhausted and not feeling like I'm even living my life, but I am just stuck in this fog. And, through going through the experience and finding finally something that worked, that was sustainable, and losing weight, yes, but learning how I got to that unhealthy place in the first place, learning the mindsets and the skill sets that I thought I knew, kind of forgetting those things that I thought I knew were working and weren't working for me, and learning things that actually did work. It has literally given me a whole new life.
Wow. That's powerful. I think everybody has something that they felt that way about. Like, I have no control. My life feels overwhelming. If the last 2 years didn't make everyone have a moment, at least, I don't know if you're human, double check that.
True.
So like anytime, I was so worried that my business was going to collapse. And then I leaned into like trusting my business, and I never was busier. Like, I had never been as busy as I was after I let go of that moment and decided these are the pieces that I can take control of. And these are the things that I can chew on.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the things that I can improve on. And so I love hearing that anybody can do that. Anyone can do it. I could feel like the biggest loser at any moment and say, what do I have control of? And it could be just one thing at a time, right? Like that's a big deal. I love that you're sharing. That's a big share. So 5 years ago, this journey started for you.
5 years ago. Yep. And it started just by getting healthy, like making some small changes in what I was eating. I found somebody who had done it before me, and I said, I don't know what you're doing, but you used to look like I look now, and now you look like I want to look. So teach me your ways. And that was my coach, Joe. And Joe coached me through how to make these changes myself. And that part of it was, life-changing. You lose 100 pounds, like that'll change your life.
We actually had people at school, fellow orchestra, kiddos and band parents go, Joanne, does Adam have cancer? And like, they didn't say anything whenever he was 300 pounds and with 2 back surgeries. And I go, girl, no, he's actually eating more now. He was not eating enough, and he's in a way better place. And so it's interesting how some people will make comments and kind of feel threatened by your transformation. And there's a whole other conversation in that.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That is amazing. I love that you just said that. Like, you really kind of nailed it on. It's funny. If you're thin, some people might be upset at you and say things like, oh, you're skinny. I actually think that that's kind of an offensive term.
Right.
It depends on how anybody says anything, but it can only offend you if it hurts your own feelings, right? It's just a word. So same thing when somebody says, oh my gosh, they're fat. They're not even saying it to you. They're not even saying it to you. So when you're thinking those things about yourself, really that's the measure, right? Like our own mental gratification, our own how I feel about my own body. That's where the power comes from. It doesn't matter if you have curves, where they are, or how much, but you got to love what you are. And if you don't, you have to do something. You got to do something.
When you truly love yourself, when you love your body, when you love yourself, when you love the person that you are, that is exhibited on the outside. And likewise, when you don't, that is exhibited on the outside. Because I truly believe through the last 5 years of my own journey, and that's the experience that I can speak from, and the thousands of people that we've coached all over the country, but mine obviously speaks the deepest to me, that as you truly enjoy and love yourself, then you take care of yourself better. You speak to yourself better. And all of those things work together for your overall picture of health. Because if you love and respect yourself, you're going to fuel your body with things that are going to make you feel better and not worse. If you love and respect yourself, you're going to have thoughts that are positive and uplifting towards yourself and not negative. And not that anybody's perfect or that it's all or nothing, but it's about shifting the momentum from which way it's going to the way you want it to go. And that over time by itself will make big changes in your life, in your mindset, in your attitude.
I do 100% agree with that. So I'm a physical therapist, and I get a lot of questions about like, well, do you do like training for weight loss? And actually the first question I ask them is, one, how much weight are you actually trying to lose? Because my goal is actually not to just give them exercises to lose weight, but to tell them, how invested are you about to be in your weight loss? Because I'm here to tell you something shocking. It's basically not even about your exercise. It's about what you're fueling your body with. And, I think too, like we can get into this, but the recommendations for diet in the US are insane. They're way overcompensated by calories unless you're an athlete or a young person who's growing, or you're growing a baby inside of you or something like that. The caloric recommendation for most people is way too high for the sedentary lifestyle that we live. And maybe in like the 20s through the 60s where there was like manual labor still being done in your daily routine, that's a different story than most of us have. I don't. And this is a reason I think that I generally might be able to stay a little more fit is my job is active. And I love that my job is active. So I need to fuel my body with different things. Not that I always do. I love pizza.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Like cookies. I got some Samoas on my desk right now. They're calling me. So like, let's talk about like the realistic nature of weight loss. Like I tell my patients it's like 70% nutrition. It's probably higher than that. What do you guys say?
I really love that. I want to go back to something you said, Amber. You used the word fuel, and I see all these Lamborghinis and Porsches all over Scottsdale. And I think, we get this one body. If I got tired of a Lambo, I can just go trade it in and get something else. But you get this one body, and it's like, I'm not going to put the cheapest gas, and I'm going to use the highest quality premium gas. And where, Amber, so many people, they get frustrated. It's like, I don't know if I want to spend just a little bit more for organic food. I don't know if I want to do this. But they have to see that you're actually investing in yourself and you're taking care of this vehicle that you get to have. So I love that word that you use. And I love what you do with your patients and your clients as well. It kind of goes hand in hand where we're more in preventative care. We want to prevent disease as much as possible.
Yeah. And to speak more on your question about the role that nutrition plays, for me, when I started this health journey, I wasn't able to work out. I had ruptured a disc in my back from trying to work out and work off 100 pounds. And my doctor said, well, you got to lose weight. And I said, well, how? And he's like, well, you can walk. And I was like, well, I'm already walking 20,000 steps a day for my job. I work 16 hours a day. I don't have the capacity to walk enough to walk off 100 pounds. Not to mention, he never addressed anything about nutrition or anything along those lines.
That's insane to me. That sucks, honestly, that you were at like your primary care provider's office. How long was that appointment? Do you remember?
About 6 minutes.
6 minutes. So in 6 minutes, he's like, hey, lose weight and make sure you go for like a walk, basically. Well, a walk, if you're like, let's talk about activity. If we're going to like go to nutrition next, like activity, if you want it to be something that increases your metabolism, needs to be challenging. It needs to get your heart rate up. Get up like significantly. Doesn't mean you go out and sprint, but sometimes a walk might be difficult. You go on a little incline, right? And we do 4 minutes. And depending on that incline, I'm out of breath. So it needs to be slightly challenging for you. And I can't even believe that just that concept wasn't explained to you. Now, aside from that, the nutrition piece, him not explaining like, hey, appearingly, if you eat this many calories a day, and then you multiply that by the week, and your activity level was basically nothing, and you burned like 200 calories doing basic activities a day, you just intook 1,800 calories. At the end of your week, you've gained weight every week for the last 6 months because you never expended any of it. It's literally an equation of calories in, calories out, and your metabolism, let's say that's a set point of how much fuel I use per day, right? So I drive 100 miles a day and I have 400 miles in the tank so I can get 4 days worth of energy out of it. But maybe my expenditure is so low that now I actually can go 2 weeks on that tank. But I keep putting more fuel in the tank. So when you get tired of your Lamborghini, by the way, make sure you I'll take it for a whirl. Just a whirl. But yeah, I like the fuel in the tank analogy. And so how did you do it? And when did that journey start for both of you together?
Yeah, that is a good question. So
they're married, by the way.
Yeah.
How long have you been married?
we've been married 8 years.
I love your ring. She's like, baby, look at this.
Actually, I was extremely frustrated, Amber. I'm going to go there because we are married.
Go there.
Get it.
Do it.
We were intimate. We were having sex, and girl,
we're having
I'm petite, and I did lose 30 pounds on this program, of course, and which is great. My blood pressure is way under control now, thank God. But we were intimate, and this was the catalyst. He knows exactly what I said. I just went gross, and it slipped out of my mouth. I'm such a positive person. I'm so uplifting and charismatic, and for me to accidentally let that slip, that was just
a person that you care about the most that you didn't intend to hurt with that word.
right.
And then what happened at that moment in your head, Adam?
That was one of many pivotal moments of something's got to change. Like that was growing up in Iowa. We don't change much. We're kind of resistant to it, right? And we're like, this is just the way that we do things. This is how we were raised. We do that, and we're really loyal to our family and our roots and all of that. And I respect all of that. And what I've learned is that I respect it enough to not just stay there, but go to that next level now. But for me, that meant that I needed to do something. And if my wife, as loving and kind and sweet as she is, if that slipped out of her mouth, then I know that there's a problem. And I know that I can see where this path is going to lead me in a year, 5 years, 10 years from now. And I don't want to go down that path. And so for me, it created a really strong why I needed to make a change. So that, and then when I was a band director, we had a big concert festival, national concert festival that we got invited to perform at because my kids were amazing and played so well. And while I was on stage performing, a button popped off of my tuxedo. And so here I am at the pinnacle of my career and in the pit of my health personally. And that whole trip, I was stressed out and just grumpy because I had to buy new suits for that trip because none of my suits fit. I had to buy new clothes. I just felt like I'm like wearing these like parachutes. I just like, there's so much fabric and it just looks so big and gross on me. And I was just so miserable in that part of it that it was kind of a culmination of all these things that happened within just a few months of each other that like, okay, change must happen. It must happen now. And it's got to be something I haven't done before because I've tried counting calories and I've tried keto and I've tried intermittent fasting. I've tried working out, and that none of those got me very far, right? I was just looking through the texts I had with my coach, and for my first like week on program, I think I lost like 5 pounds the first day or something like that. And I texted him on day 2 and I was like, Joe, it took me 3 weeks to lose 5 pounds counting calories and I gained it all back in like 2 days.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I lost it in like a day on this program, just following structured. So it happens through structured nutrition first. Calories in, calories out are part of the game, but also that's the science part of it. But we also have to take to account the fact that we are human beings, right? And so with that has feelings and emotions. And so we have to address the hunger and we have to address the need for seeing results for our sacrifices. And we have to address the trauma and the other triggers that cause us to eat because people have emotional things and food and smell are both tied to emotions in our brain. And so if we're not having like some awareness of what those things are, then it's really hard to make lasting changes. And so anyway, all that to say, having a clear laid out structure of eat this, don't eat that, yes, but also eating things that are nutrient dense, that are going to help satiate you so you don't feel starving, that are going to help balance your blood sugar out so you don't get those spikes, which makes you want to take the afternoon nap, or the dips, which is like, I'm starving, I'm going to eat everything in sight. Yeah.
Moody.
You're able
Snappy.
to have some tools that are going to help you make healthier decisions moving along down the line. And then teaching you how to make a healthy meal at home. Like that's really like how I started out. Was I had 5 meals kind of given to me and said, here, eat this, right? And they're all nutrient balanced and balanced out. And I didn't have to worry about them. And then cooking one meal every day at home taught me healthy portion sizes, healthy ingredients, and a whole bunch of healthy recipes so that when I hit my goal weight, then the next easy switch was just eating more meals and making more of my meals that I ate and eating less of the meals that were given to me, and learning how to do this on just a normal thing. And then go to the next level for that for us was like, okay, well, maybe we'll look at some organic things or, and more kind of leveling up the quality of the food that we're eating. But I think just saying, okay, I'm going to go eat organic, or, oh, I'm going to go eat Whole30, or I'm going to go eat whatever, without having a structure in place for what you're going to do, yes, you're going to see a little bit of benefit. But unless you know exactly what you're trying to accomplish, and I mean, you can eat unhealthy vegan, and you can eat unhealthy amounts of food doing Whole30, and you can eat unhealthy amount of organic bananas. I mean, all of those things are great. They're higher quality food, but unless you address the whole picture of the nutrition, then you're only getting a portion of the benefit.
Agree with that. I think there's also like this little misnomer in weight loss, and it might come from doctors. I'm not really sure where it comes from, and it doesn't matter because I hate it. And it is the notion that there's like a magic number 20. And I honestly, so how much would you pay for a t-shirt?
I don't even know. It depends. I mean, like 10, 20 bucks. Maybe.
20 bucks. 20 bucks. Maybe somebody will pay 20 bucks for like a cotton tee, whatever. Right? So if you see a t-shirt that's $100, you're like, no, we're going to buy it. No, I'm not. That's ridiculous. This better be some, I don't know, t-shirt that like absorbs my sweat and shoots it out of the shirt. I don't know. But so we all have like that anchor point, right? Like $20 for a shirt. So if you see something for $4, you're on a different track. When we think about weight loss, we also have an anchor number. When we think about weight gain, we have an anchor number. Sometimes the number is not important because we really just noticed our clothes are tighter. That's my anchor point for me, is like these pants don't fit. So I know if these pants don't fit, I'm already on that journey. Not everybody has that trigger, but you did. You said my button flew off my tux, and like cue like that button, I knew I had to make a change. And then you said, my clothes look like parachutes. So you looked at the clothes and you saw what you knew was true about yourself inside. And you said, these clothes don't match me. There's no freaking way these are my clothes.
Wow.
Those are not my clothes. You had an anchor point for your clothes visually that you said, that doesn't match me. That's not me. You had an anchor point for a number, maybe. So when you started losing weight, what was your number?
That's a good question. So my coach asked me, he's like, what's your goal weight? And I started at 265 pounds. And I said, you know what? If I ever see under 200 pounds again, that would be a miracle.
Wow.
And my coach said, yeah, but if you knew you couldn't fail, where would you go? I said, oof, I don't even know. I don't even know what's possible. It's never been on my radar because it's never been something I felt possible. And I said, let me start with 200 and we'll see from there, right? And then, like Joanne said earlier, I started losing weight, getting healthier, and just like showing up differently. And it started to challenge some people around me, and they're like, well, lose too much weight now, these things or whatever, and
What's that mean for you? Just like kind of like poking the bear a little bit, like, hey, we want to get too thin.
Yeah. Well, and I know that
you were then. You were just starting to lose weight. You're on your journey.
Yeah, I was still like 220 pounds at that point, and then I needed to lose another 50 at least to be in my healthy BMI range, which that's a whole other discussion. But so, that messed with my mind when people started saying things like that, So I went to my doctor and I said, listen, doc, I showed up like 60 pounds later and he's like, who are you? And what are you doing? And whatever it is, keep doing it because all of your stuff looks better. Like all of your numbers are all back in the normal.
Come to me when they're sick, not whenever they're
Yeah.
driving.
He's like, I don't usually see my patients come back to me healthier than when they left the first time. And so like, I was like, okay, cool. And that gave me a lot of confidence, but also I asked him, I said, so this has never been a possibility for me before, or at least not that I knew of. And so like, what is a healthy weight for me? And he said, well, your healthy BMI range is like 145 to 180. He's like, shoot right in the middle of that. And so that took me to an even 100 pounds at 165 pounds. And so that was my goal. So when I had those other voices chirping in my ear saying, oh, be careful, or, oh, you're going to gain it back, or, oh, this, or, oh, that, I know that they meant well and that it came from a place of caring, but also it came from a little place of challenge in them. But I also had that confidence in like, I know what I'm doing. And because our system isn't just about food, but it's about having a coach and the support and being a part of a community of like-minded people and addressing mindsets and skill sets that got us to that unhealthy place in the first place and making those changes over time. I knew that I wasn't going to gain back the weight because I knew that I had all of the tools available to me that I would need to make adjustments along the way. And not that it's been perfect, but I hit my goal of 100 pounds lost 4.5 years ago, and I've kept off 100 pounds for 4.5 years.
Statistic doesn't usually happen. I think only 12% of people do not gain 100 pounds back and then some. It's because we're addressing mindset. But the reason I wanted to interject was the before and after, and they'll see it on our website, that was whenever his button popped off at the Tux. This is the biggest moment of his music career. And then a year later where he's smiling and he looks healthy.
Right? Yeah, it's in this photo.
Let me show it to her. I'm like, I have to show Amber because this is one of my favorite photos. This has been circulated through our entire company, and people know that it wasn't just a before and after. This represented a pain point was hit. And I want to talk to the person, Amber or anyone that's listening, when you hit that, like you said earlier, that low point of your life, you're like, what can I control? And even, LeBron James or even, Mahomes, he has a coach. You need a coach in your life to say, not what you're doing wrong, but girl, you're rocking that, Amber. I'm proud of you for knowing, hey, I'm noticing my clothes are, a little here, or maybe I do need to, do a little body composition, just wherever you're at, where it's more like not pointing down at someone, but you turn it sideways and you're having a conversation with someone. And that's where we're at. That's where that before and after. And they'll see so many of our other clients that are real life people that are busy people and people who, I have an 83-year-old client in Abilene, Texas, who was told, you're too old to lose weight. Mm-hmm. And he had served in our military. And I'm like, how can you tell that to someone? Not just, that's ageism. And so we talk about those things. We talk about women who've been through menopause. And they're like, girl, that's just, your hormones are always going to be like this. You'll never lose the weight. We have people with autoimmune. And Amber, it just really fires us up as a couple to know that, yes, it worked for Adam, but also we've been able to really help people in just different seasons of life too.
That's actually beautiful that you do have an at-home support. Like Joanne, you have great energy. You have a lot of positivity. And I'm sure that, Adam, that had to have helped a lot as you were kind of going through this. And sometimes you mentioned, we have great food out here. We got everything you want. We got maple and ash from Chicago out here. We've got Toca Madera. We have anything you want, you can find in Arizona, and like really, really delicious versions of it. I am a restaurateur. I am out to dinner. It's like one of my favorite things to do. I love eating with people. It's my social happy place. And actually, I don't feel like I eat enough of the right things too, when I'm not eating with someone. So if I have someone like, oh, hey, do you want to go get something? Yeah, I'd love to go get something healthier. Mm-hmm. Like that's a suggestion I can make so that I'm not eating Mexican food every single day, because I do love my beans and rice and my bean and cheese burrito, and I would eat it every day, and my pizza. But it's not nutritionally sound, or I need to work on my caloric intake. Like how much is my portion control really, right? Like what is a portion? What is a portion? How do I do that? And when I go out to eat, how do I be successful? like not just overindulging all the time, because it's easy to do. So how did you guys find that success, and how much were you leaning on each other to be like, listen, that's a little much over there. That's good. That's do you guys do that? You
Oh, we do. We will get on each other. Thank you. And Amber, I love that question because, we are foodies too. And that was part of the reason we went into debt, because we were like, he would get home late. We're like, I don't feel like cooking. So we'd eat out.
We lived like 2 blocks from a Tex-Mex place. And when we lived in Texas, and that did not help our health habits at all before we started doing this.
also Dianila?
Oh, yeah.
There have been some margaritas.
Come on, blood pressure. And there we go. I laugh in the microphone, but I just wanted to say to the audience, like, we learned that, and I'm not going to say which one of us, but one of us was in a home where we would get physically punished for not finishing our plate. And so it's okay to ask for a to-go box. Little things that we learned on our health program that was like, you don't have to feel guilty about not finishing your plate. And we were both the oldest of some siblings. And so it'd be natural, like, hey, finish your sister's plate or finish your brother's plate.
Because it's wasteful. Exactly. And that's not okay. And there's kids in other countries that don't have food.
Clean your plate club, yeah.
Bingo.
Now, I did not, I eat very slowly, and it's probably because I am so social. And so I'm talking and having a good time watching people talk instead of eating my food. But I think that some of that comes from, I actually had some not good healthy things happening when I was very little too, like timing me to eat and forced feeding that make me feel like a big bite literally chokes me. It makes me sad. It makes me uncomfortable, like gagging. Even though it's not, it's still in my mouth and I'm not even swallowing it yet. It feels uncomfortable. And then that sensation of being overfull makes me actually physically sick and then emotional. And then it just is very uncomfortable for me. Now, other people find satisfaction in that feeling, and I understand why, because it's not like I don't do that on Thanksgiving and Christmas. And if I go to Fogo de Chao, because I love to get the meat sweats and I love protein. And so it's not like I don't ever, but there are a lot of emotions that actually feel uncomfortable with being overly full. It's not just like, oh, great. I don't actually feel food guilt. I just eat the food and enjoy it. And I think that my life and my mental health is probably better for that. Like, I don't eat a piece of pizza and then I'm like, God, I can't believe I ate a piece of pizza. But a lot of people do that. And I'm like, you know what? If you're going to go for it, just enjoy it and then move on with your next day. Do better tomorrow if you felt bad about it. If you don't, like, that's a thing for you to decide. But where do you go with that? Like, how do you make those good food choices? Like, where do you go with that?
I think, the way that we coach our clients, and what I've learned in my experience too, is like everything is feedback, right? Everything is information. Nothing is wasted. So even if you make a choice, well, let me back up. You are responsible for the things that enter your mouth. No one is holding a gun to your head and saying, eat this, right? So you have to take personal responsibility, radical personal responsibility for the things that you put in your mouth. Good, bad, or otherwise, it is what it is.
It's your own hand.
It's your own hand. And you have data and feedback from every decision, whether it's moving you towards your goal or away from your goal, right? So I liken it to like, the first time you try to hit a curveball as a baseball player, and the first time you see a curveball coming at you when you're standing at the plate, you're like, what the heck was that, right? You like, maybe you duck, maybe you run away a little bit, but the more times that you see the curveball coming, the more looks at it you have, the more swings you take at it, the more likely you are to connect with it and eventually hit it over the right field fence, right? So maybe you had intended on not having the slice of pizza, but you had the slice of pizza. Great. Use that as feedback. So that was your first look at the curveball. Now, what happened? What did I want to happen? What was missing? And what am I going to do next time differently, if anything? And if you had the pizza and you're like, you know what? I don't feel bad about that at all. That's moving me towards my goals. And there's no judgment. Great. Awesome. Perfect.
There's no crying in baseball, except sometimes we do ask as coaches, like higher level questions of like, what is the hardest part about being you right now? And that question just shatters so many just glass walls that are like, you know what? This is actually going on behind the scenes. And, Amber, like the pizza is not really the issue. Like you said, you hit the nail on the head. What's really going on is, are you trying to feed yourself? Are you trying to mask something that there's drug addiction, there's alcohol addiction, but no one really talks about food addiction.
Sugar addiction. Holy cow, I am addicted to sugar. I'm not going to lie to anyone about it. When I think of it as the word addiction, it changes my relationship with it, right? I'm like, not today, sugar, not today.
Yeah.
And same thing with like, if I'm choosing to eat healthy today and I didn't, I just let myself down. It wasn't authentic to what I meant to do today. And that I can, okay, well, I'm going to carry that to tomorrow and do better. But if I'm like, hey, I'm allowing myself something, or my goal is to, it could be anything in your day. I wanted to clean the bathroom. That was on my to-do list and I didn't get it done. Okay, great. You need to be responsible for that again. So you guys do this thing where you're allowing people, you're asking them questions like, what's the hardest part about being you right now today?
And sometimes they say it's eating the pizza. And then we ask, well, tell me more about that. Why is that hard, right? Well, because I'm not keeping the commitments I made to myself. Okay, cool. Well, tell me more about those commitments. Why are those important to you, right? Because the issue is never the issue. Very rarely do you talk to somebody and the first thing that they say
Come on, hot fries.
actually the issue, right? Like, so yeah, hot fries or Cheetos or the things or whatever, but why? And when you really get connected to the why of why that's not serving them and what that's doing for the trajectory of their health and therefore their entire life and the people around them, that's when we're able to start having a different perspective on the commitments we make to ourselves and having a stronger reason to keep them. And as we keep those commitments to ourselves, we build confidence in ourselves, and we're able to do that more frequently, not perfectly, but more frequently over time with fewer and farther between breaking of those commitments is what creates a healthy lifestyle, or a lifestyle at all for that matter. We always say that behavior is addictive. The first time is the hardest part to do anything that you're wanting to do, whether that's, cleaning the bathroom on a daily basis or
starting a podcast
or eating healthy or whatever. The first day is always the hardest, right? Because it has the biggest amount of resistance to get moving. But guess what? The next day, it might not be easy yet, but it's going to be easier than it was day one and day two and day three, on and on and on. And likewise, behavior moving you in an unhealthy way is also addictive, and it also creates momentum moving that way. And so you have to be intentional about which way am I going today and what steps am I taking in order to make sure we keep the momentum moving in the direction that's serving you in this season.
And man, that can cost a lot of like mental energy, physical energy. It can make you feel tired and like unsure. So then you're moody with people. It's like the weight of the risk is so heavy at that moment that you think you might fail. And like your coach asked you, Coach Joe, said, well, what would you do if you couldn't fail? Like, oh my God, I own a cupcake shop and I've got, whatever it is. Like you almost go back to like childhood. What do you want to be when you grow up?
Right.
This is good.
Like, God, I wanted to be a fighter pilot real bad. And at that time, I don't think there were any. Now, we just saw the Super Bowl had an all-female flyover. That actually makes me kind of choke up right now because that's badass shit right there.
Isn't that incredible?
Okay, like amazing. Those women were repping up there. We had a pregnant woman do the halftime show. Like, I mean, the expectations that we set for ourselves sometimes are way lower than what we can accomplish. Yeah. So that sucks. And we're held back by our own resistance to change. We're held back by our own mental capacity to exceed expectations. Like, what is the biggest expectation I had? When I was really little, I didn't think I would graduate from high school. Nobody ever said, like, when I was really little. So I'm adopted. So I have a pre-childhood and a childhood. And my pre-childhood, nobody ever asked me those questions. They didn't say, how did you do in school today? When I had new parents that are amazing parents, and I carry their last name Enright for that reason, they asked me those questions, and it was a complete reset of expectation for myself. I'm telling you, I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for the increase in expectation. So talk to me about like maybe some of those shifts that you do for people when you're asking them this question, like, okay, so this is where you are today. This is why you feel, I'm going to use the word loser. This is why you feel like a loser today, right? And then how do we go from feeling like a loser to living life and feeling successful and like loving, like how do we do that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think about Roger Bannister in the 4 Minute Mile, right? Nobody thought it could be done until he did it. And that's why Joanne and I share so authentically about where we were at before this, because in our physical health and our financial health and our relational health, in basically our whole lifestyle, we were not in a healthy place.
So you're saying you have more sex now?
Yes. Come on.
So it's sexy to be fit.
Yes.
Wow, you signed up
What it
75
does-
clients.
What it does for marriage, especially when you guys do it together. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that could be a whole podcast in and of itself.
Oh, they're like giving each other eyes right now, you guys.
I know. I'm getting steam here.
Hot.
Got turned on. There's the dish make. But I have.
But we share so authentically about where we were at, those vulnerable moments, because there's people out there right now feeling their version of that. And it's important to know that you can shift that momentum and start moving in the other direction if you want to do that. And I think something too, Amber, you said earlier about how it can take just massive amounts of mental energy and bandwidth, and not everybody has that. And that is why you need a easy, simple structure and system to follow, because a confused mind will not do anything. An overwhelmed mind will not do anything. And so having small little things to do, and that's exactly what we coach and how we coach, is give small little things to do that start moving that ball in that direction, which creates more capacity for you to do more of those things, right? So I think that's a big part of it.
It's like Dave Ramsey's snowball,
Yes.
Exactly.
right? Like, I was like, gosh, okay, we did this one. We did the lowest one and we accomplished it. So now we're going to roll that into the next one.
I've used that example very much for what we do. It's kind of the health version of Dave Ramsey's debt snowball, because you want to see your results and you want to feel good about it and you want to have a plan and a structure. And,
Mr. Ramsey.
and we found his system too. We call him Uncle Dave. He's always
Uncle Dave.
looking over our shoulder saying no.
We also call him, whenever we would still eat out once in a while, whenever we were doing the Gazelle Intense, we're not Dave Ramsey tonight, we're Donna Rumsey. And it's like we had like an alternative universe name for him. But I wanted to say, that was a wonderful question. Adam gave his. Mine is I'm going to talk to old Joanne, and then anyone who's listening, if you can close your eyes, please don't do this if you're flying an airplane or driving.
I can hear.
Let's go back to that moment when you were at your lowest valley, and I'm talking where you felt like no one was in your corner. We have all been there, but I want to go to specifically when you were going to this area. So for me, my blood pressure was out of control. I was 30 pounds overweight. I was in denial. I used to say my clothes shrunk, and we didn't know how we would pay the water bill that next month. And so before the Dave Ramsey, before we started doing our program, just like my shirt says today, it says every day matters. So if you're in that valley, just know that, like what Amber was talking about earlier, what Adam's been talking about, is that you do take it a day at a time, but also it's okay to admit, like, this is the hardest part about being me today, and not being in denial, because that's where old Joanne was. I was in complete denial. And as you guys open your eyes, when you accept where your current reality is, and you say, okay, what is just one step I can take, and stop living in that 0 or 100%. As music teachers, you couldn't play one wrong note of the national anthem and not be made fun of on Twitter for 2 years. If you miss one note, they're like, girl, it's like the perfection, the word. Yeah, or the words. Oh my gosh, we can go into it. But I will say, like, getting out of the 0 or 100 mentality and going, dang, I'm so proud of myself. I did a 63% today. I gave everything I could. So you gave 100%. If that's all you had, you did it. And maybe this is the first time you're hearing that concept. If I don't have to be perfect to have the best business in Scottsdale or wherever you're at in the world listening to this, or to have the best marriage and all these, we don't have it all figured out. But what we do know is, like, you know what? I am giving my best. Let's channel our energy into finding a solution versus fixating on a problem in that valley. So every day does matter. And Amber, I love the work that you do too, because it's like dementia and things like that, like things that you do inherent in your DNA. You cannot control that, but you can control, am I going to keep, eating junk and drinking all the sodas and all the things? And did I drink any water today versus let me kind of cut back a little bit, get a little bit more water in me. That trajectory alone can completely prevent 2 or 3 years, or who knows how many years, against that dementia or against other diseases that, we unfortunately inherit.
That's, yeah. So I do work with neurology and oncology patients. So that could be like brain cancer. It could be Parkinson's, dementia. It could be any kind of movement disorder. Even people as they're aging, like just have balance issues and they're falling and they really don't know why. There's like, that carpet in the floor. Again, the acknowledgement of the source of whatever that is. Now, some are definitely genetic and you don't have any control of them, you think, except that our nervous system, just like every cell in our body, is exposed to things. So like, for example, your skin cell has an umbrella called melanin, right? And that's how you get a tan, because the sun needed to be exposed to that cell for it to produce that. So without the right environment, the cell didn't do that. So that's why if you are not protecting your skin, you can also go the extreme way and then increase your risk, not causative, but risk factors for things like skin cancer. So the same thing happens with our weight, our joint degeneration. People don't realize how many hundreds of torque pounds go through your knee when you have an extra 20, 40, 50 pounds on your body, torque pounds. So your head weighs more than a bowling ball.
Okay, girl.
Yeah, or a gallon of milk. Now, hold a gallon of milk out on a straight arm out in front of you. See how long you can hold it. Most people couldn't do it, period, because they're maybe not fit or healthy or don't have the muscle structure. Then the longevity of that situation is seconds. Now, multiply that times 100 and put that through your low back when you have extra weight out front from your belly button to your spine. Every inch matters. Every millimeter matters. So we're talking not just about weight, but we're talking about lever arm and torque on every joint in your body. The more you bend over to do a vacuum, and I have 20 extra pounds on top or 40 extra pounds on the bottom. So talking about like apple-shaped people versus pear-shaped people, like those are medical terms for how we hold body weight and how it accumulates and sticks to our body. And then also the journey of like, if I'm on the weight loss end of things, finding our happy medium. Where are we healthy? Where are we happy? Are those two things even the same? So you were given the BMI chart, which we don't need to go into it, but it's not the gold. It's a standard of living with caloric intake that's normalized for some people of average height and average weight. Those numbers are skewed. We'll start there. They're not for everyone. So, for example, some people are really tall and thin, and we have pro athletes that need tight hamstrings to be able to do track instead of other sports like gymnastics. And so there's like happy mediums that are outside of that normative data. So you were talking about targeting a healthy weight. We're talking about body shape. How do you know, Joanne, my body's happy here?
That's a good question.
Really good question. How do you first?
So for me, it is more now physique. And, we track lots of different numbers throughout the journey for weight loss and all the way through optimal health. Waist circumference is one of those things that we track just because extra body fat around the midsection does lead to increased risk of all kinds of different disease factors, especially as you age and as that continues to go on. But for me, and this is what we tell our clients too, once you hit your goal weight, find a pair of pants that you like how they fit and use those every week or two and see how you're doing, right? Because like for me, after I got to my goal weight, I'm like, okay, I'm going to start adding fitness in. So I started lifting weights to build muscle. Well, of course, I'm going to put pounds on that way. And so the scale goes up. My waist size has actually gone down. I'm wearing the smallest pair of jeans I've ever worn in my life.
Come on, y'all. We got a show in here.
I started at 44 32s and I'm sitting here in 30s today. So even in the last 4 years, as I've been continuing to move forward in my overall picture of health without focusing on weight loss, my waist size has gone down as I've done body recomposition and got rid of that.
So that's your accountability check, is that pair of pants.
Yeah.
Honesty system.
Yeah. Am I pleased with how I look in the mirror? Because that was one of the big triggers that I wasn't pleased about when I started the journey. And so it might sound vain, and maybe it is. I don't know. I guess I don't really care, because for me, it's what works. And it's also led to like 5,000 other people having the chance to get healthy too over the last 5 years. So if vanity did that, then thank God for my vanity.
Yeah. For me, I'm going to go there. Anxiety. I will spiral. I will have a full-blown panic attack. I notice that when my body's out of whack. So if I'm having like a lot of, sugar, if I'm having like tons of just out of control foods and just like carefree, I will notice that my heart rate will increase later on that night. And then I overthink and I obsess over, maybe I said this wrong to a client, and I would hold on to it, go to sleep, wake up in a sweat. And I know, oh my gosh, like, did I drink any water today? Did I just live off coffee? And the cool thing is for me, it's my mental health is actually affected by if I'm out of control with foods and things like that. So that's kind of my simple answer. I notice my blood pressure will go back up, but just kind of that mindset piece of what our program offers, I know now to lead myself through and go, wait, let's stop. And let's just say, okay, this is my current reality. And if you would have told me 5 years ago to lead myself through a panic attack, I would have laughed at you. I'm like, no, let me just try to figure it out. Now I know, allow that excitement to flow through my body. And a lot of it goes back to, just what am I allowing into my mind and my body, not just through my mouth, but through my eyes. What am I listening to?
Yeah. Well, and also, everyone's happy point is different, right? So, am I happier? The question is like, some people will get like, they'll lose 20 or 30 pounds and not be maybe in that healthy range yet, but they're happy there. And so the question is, well, they'll usually put it on themselves like, oh, I need to lose another 20 pounds. And well, why? Why is that important to you? Well, I don't know. Well, maybe it's not then. In which case, let's transition and let's do optimization for a little while and see how you feel. And if you decide, you know what, yeah, I need to do this and I have a really clear why I need to lose more weight, great.
All that motivation,
right,
obviously has to be there. It can't. So I had a young adult whose mother and father literally polar opposites on the spectrum of everything in their personality. And without going into too much detail, this father wanted his son to lose 20 pounds, wanted him to really lose like 50 pounds. And it wasn't his best interest. He was a young kid who'd already had back surgery, could barely move after. I mean, it was a terrible surgery. He had complications of infection. That was all before I even met him. And then his mom was more of the like coaxing mentality. Well, this kid, I said, I'm not doing anything with you. What do you want? What are you going to do? And are you actually going to make the nutritional change to accomplish this? Because I'm going to come in and give you some stuff to do to work out and to be strong and to help your metabolism increase that you can do on your own. That's homework. That's it. Mm-hmm. The other stuff is all the other things that are in your control. That's it. And I really can't even force you to do these exercises. It's all you. How motivated are you to do this? Where are we going to be? And he had to answer that. And I refused to start anything with him until he acknowledged those things, the actual patient, not his parents, because he wasn't going to do it for his parents.
Yeah.
He wasn't even interested, honestly. Why does he want to? And it was back to that question of like, he felt like a loser. That's literally what he said. And I'm like, man, so he felt like he was gaining weight because he felt like a loser. And then he lost 50 pounds in the summer, but it was 100% through nutritional things. So tell me about nutrition. Tell me about this. Tell me about the program. Tell me about what it is.
You take care of nutrition. I'll talk a little bit more about the program because I love this part.
Okay, cool. Well, why don't you start about the program and then I'll talk about the nutritional component.
Because we do this as a team, and I love that everybody. Yes, come on. I will say this: like, what makes our program unique is like going back to that car. You got to have 4 wheels. If we have 2, it's a motorcycle. That's still really cool. But
there are things you can't do in a motorcycle,
right? And so we want to have all 4 pieces. So nutrition actually only represents 25% of what we do and offer with TeamHoff Health. That's great. That's an important 25%. Another 25% or another wheel is coaching. So when you do program, you have Adam and I. So you have kind of that TeamHoff Health. You have someone encouraging you. That's my gifting. But also you have someone who's going to give you a little real talk, and someone who's going to meet you where you're at.
Put my coach hat on.
There we go. Yeah. And, we have a community. So we have, and Amber, I'll also put that on the website so they can click on it. Sunday nights, 6:30 our time here in Scottsdale. We just have an open Zoom. We have our clients come on, they share some wins from the week. We answer any questions. We also invite you and anyone else listening. That's a time where we do community. That's an important 25% because it's not just Adam and I. I want you to meet someone who's 81 years old doing this too. I want you to meet one of our 21-year-olds that's in college and figuring this out with an all-you-can-eat buffet. The community piece is super encouraging. And then we have in-person events too. But the last 25% is like I've been mentioning this entire time, that mental health piece. Like, it's not the pizza that's the problem. In fact, we actually eat pizza in our program. That's something else you see on our website. We have some recipes for that. But really, it's tell me more about that. What's the hardest part about being you? And really digging in deeper. So that's our program in a nutshell, that coaching, community, mindset, nutrition.
Right. And we always say diets don't work by themselves, right?
I hate that word, by the way. I hate the word diet.
Too.
It's temporary. It doesn't include anything about your life or how you're thinking or feeling. It's just a word. It's a crappy word.
Exactly. It is. And so what we do is healthy lifestyle. And there's a lot of things out there that claim that, but I think living proof. When was the last time you knew somebody who did a diet for 5 years? Like, we live this healthy lifestyle. It's just what we do. It's part of what we do. And we're living proof of the positive effects that it can have on your life. So nutrition specifically, the nutrition part of our program is kind of where we start. It's the entry, if you will, because it's the easiest and most concrete thing that we can adjust. So we use a company called Optavia. They provide the tools and we provide the service. So, a mechanic buys his tools from Snap-on or Craftsman or whatever. We're the mechanic and we get our tools from them. But essentially what they're going to do is they're going to provide 5 nutrient balanced meals that are going to keep you satiated, that are convenient and easy, so that you have easy, convenient, healthy options. So it's easier to make a healthy option as you are making this first adjustment in your lifestyle. And then 1 meal every day you're going to cook on your own based on guidelines that we coach you through, that is going to help you get in the habit of cooking at home. Because I know for us, going out to eat 4 or 5 times a week, like, that was not helping our health at all, or our finances for that matter. But we've learned all these healthy recipes now, and we can cook at home way faster than we can go out to eat these days, as well as like even grab something quick if we need to, because of the things that we've learned through going through this process. So starting out, that's what it looks like. As you achieve your goal weight, then we start cooking more meals and using less of the Optavia meals. And eventually the program is designed to teach you how to live this without buying anything from Optavia.
So you want people to go back to their foods.
Yeah, it's really the best thing to do. And so we have some people who, still order some for healthy snacks. So when they're on road trips and things like that, but they're eating those 3 healthy meals a day and those 3 healthy snacks a day, as are we. And that's really kind of the nutrition thing. And so general nutrition tips that we have learned in this process is focus on things that are going to keep you satiated. Protein is a great way to do that. Protein is going to keep you full longer, more vegetables. And fruits are healthy, but be careful for weight loss because they carry a lot of sugar. And, I had a client that was on another program, let's say that, where they could, eat certain foods and they got points for them. And he's like, I could eat as many bananas as I wanted a day and I didn't have to, I was within my points, but he was gaining weight and he also was missing out on a ton of nutrients. Like, bananas are great, but you need other things besides just bananas, right? Because it wasn't addressing portion control. It was missing one of those factors of overall health and healthy nutrition. And so portion sizes is a big deal of that. One of the things that this also does is it helps to balance out your blood sugar because you're eating every 2 to 3 hours throughout the day. So most of us want to take a nap about 1 o'clock because we ate a lunch and it spiked our blood sugar and now it's time for a nap. And then by about 6 o'clock when it's time for dinner, we're starving because our blood sugar then dropped way down and we want to eat everything in sight. And we're also maybe a little growly. And so by eating these smaller meals more often throughout the day, we help balance that out. So good mood, good energy. You don't feel hungry and you are able to lose weight, but also just have a really simple way, really simple baseline of, hey, I can do this on my worst day. Because if you're going to make it into a habit, it's got to be something you can do consistently. and it's got to be something you can do long term. And the only difference between the weight loss and the optimization phase in our nutrition program is what you're eating in those different containers. So we're setting you up with those habits of eating 6 times a day so that when you get to that goal, it's so much easier to take out one of the Optavia meals, put in a meal that you already made because you're used to doing that. And it's just a small change versus trying to prep all 6 meals for a day and balance your macros and figure out the calories and get everything right in the thing. We just keep it simple because
Some of the things that you would differentiate between Isogenics, Jenny Craig, like all these things are like kind of just like forcing you to buy all these products instead of teaching you.
yeah, our goal is to empower, and we were educators in our previous life, music educators.
I love that, by the way. Music is huge in my family, and I was in band all the way through high school.
Did you play flute?
Trumpet.
Clarinet, babies.
Clarinet
Was a camp at Flagstaff every single year at NAU. I loved it. Like, we're music people, so I love that that's actually something you guys are passionate about. Maybe we can talk about that in another podcast episode because,
Absolutely.
yeah, you guys are fantastic. What do you play?
I play saxophone.
Okay.
Clarinet.
Yeah, get it, girl. Get it, girl.
Where are my clarinets at? I love it. You know,
Flute. You guys, I can be a flautist.
no. Unless you're Will Ferrell and he puts it out of the sleeve and it
Oh, yeah.
fire.
My best friend Lisa played flute and she played piccolo
Yeah.
in the marching band because I was big. My godfather was the band director, so I got to play like it. I love band. I think it's so cool. And music is like joyful. You're in a terrible mood. Put some music on, something in a completely different mood than what you're in, and it will drive you out of it. It's so powerful. It's just as powerful as exercise or doing something good for yourself. Music it's another language.
We had,
Fantastic.
this was hilarious, but you just triggered something because as band directors, we'd have, principals or assistant principals go to our office and go, hey guys, this one student, he's in out of jail, he's juvenile, and we're like, he's like a straight A student, like just rocking it in our classroom. Music is healing.
Oh, yeah.
We're huge. Like, even though we now do this full time, we still go to the Phoenix Symphony and, we want to be philanthropists and we want to support music and arts because it's a safe space.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And it is a community.
Yep.
Music is a community. My parents are actually on, I think, the symphony board in Sierra Vista. And they used to do musicals. Like, I would curl up in a chair and listen to them doing like their rehearsals. I just have always been obsessed with like the culture of music and musicals and band and orchestra and all of that. So I think it's another drop in the bucket for healthy living. Is to like tap into that other language of like music and the other areas of the brain that are motivating and changing and positively impacting. If I'm sad, I'm not probably going to put some country music on, like hello, but
Right.
there's so many things that can really pull you out of a mood or pull you into a special kind of mood, confidence, whatever, but so can your body. So I love having you guys in. We'll have to do this again. Thank you so much. Is there anything else? How do we contact you? Tell me the deets.
Yeah. So we are on social media, TeamHoff_coaching on Instagram.
JoJo Music Girl, if you want to follow me for recipes and some laughs.
We have a website, teamhoff.co. On there, you can connect with us. It links to our social medias, our Calendly, and a cute little video all about us as well.
Well, also that late, like we talked about on Sunday nights at 6:30 Mountain Time, we do just an open community Zoom that you guys are more than invited to come check out. So a link to that. And like you said, our socials are linked on there. And so that Calendly, that's a time to sign up for a consultation.
It's like a 30-minute thing, right? I went on there and it's a 30-minute, hi, how are you? Get to know you.
What's a hard story about these?
See how we can serve you, right? It's the great thing is like we just love having conversations with people because, again, speaking from my own experience, and I know if I experience this that I'm not, a unique snowflake and all above myself. So that there are people out there who are looking for something, and maybe they don't know what it is, but we see you, and from the journey that I've been on, I see the future of what these things can do in your life, for your family, for your marriage, for your spiritual walk, because I've been down there. And so I'm having conversations with people and I'm seeing their future unfolding if they choose to go down that path. And it's one of my absolute favorite things in the world. And I'm so blessed to be able to do this as our mission, and our mission together is, of course, but people see you, people believe in you, and you need to know that.
You matter. And I just want to close out. Speaking of spiritual health, they can always join us in person on Sunday mornings at One Church Scottsdale. It's pretty cool community, and it helps with spiritual health side of things too.
You guys, I am inspired actually by today's podcast to get control of some things in my own life. So thank you so much. Your work definitely matters. I'm so excited that you came into Scottsdale Living Business Edition. And even though you're brand new here, I'm so glad that you made Scottsdale your home. Thanks for sharing so authentically today, because it means the world and people can hear that. And I know that this episode is going to have a big ring wherever somebody's listening to it from. So thank you, Adam and Joanne Hoffmann from TeamHoff Health. We will definitely have you back.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We had a great time.
Thank you.